Sullivan's not here yet? Okay. He texted me saying that apparently there was an accident that was hindering his
Okay, we really need to get rolling.
come in, so go ahead and call this meeting into order. Can I have an agenda, please? Yeah. Thank you. All right. Michelle, would you give us an invocation, please?
I will. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, Lord, to gather and to do work for the county. Lord, I ask that you would be with everyone here as we make decisions on what's best for this county, Lord, and I ask that you would give us wisdom and guidance. In your son's precious name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there all in favor? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can y'all please say who?
I'm sorry.
The
Remember
motion was
names.
Chairman.
Motion was
Shell.
the motion. Yeah.
Who made the motion?
Langford Shell.
Langford Shell.
Perfect, thank you.
Remember, this is the first time
Okay.
she's seen y'all in.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry
Sorry.
about that.
That's okay.
We can hold our hands up too, because the mask
Okay.
are, yeah. Let's hold our hands up on motions a second, because it's hard.
Yeah, it's
with
probably a good
masks
idea.
to-
That would
Thank
be
you.
helpful with y'all.
Okay.
Yeah.
especially for those of us who are
Yeah.
turned around the other direction. Approval of the minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved. Oh,
So moved. Commissioner Taylor.
second.
Second, Chairman Langford. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, before we do public recognition, I want to remind everyone we are under a mask mandate by the county mayor, and please have on mask or face covering. If not, would you please leave the room? Okay? I'm just saying, because we require it at all of our meetings, we should require it at the committee meetings as well. So please have a mask or a face covering on. I will make the decision that if you are not wearing a mask or a face covering, I will not allow you to speak in public recognition. So, because we are on a mask mandate. So recognition of the public, we've got 6 people on here. Anyone speaking on here, let me just say this first. Speaking on here in favor of the resolution, raise your hand. If you're on this list. Okay, is there anyone on here speaking against the resolution? I don't see anybody speaking against it. Okay, typically what we do is we ask that if you're speaking, that you do not repeat what other speakers have said. So let's try to keep it succinct, please. Our first speaker is Karen Bookert.
Mr. Chairman,
Is that correct? Yes.
if you wouldn't mind, could you entertain a motion that we pass some of the other agenda items first while you have quorum
Well, that's fine,
at 6?
because some people have to leave at 6. That's fine. I apologize. We will, is there a motion to hold public recognition for a few minutes so we can do some of the other agenda items? Motion for Mr. Hinton, second. Commissioner Taylor, thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Ring, is everybody that signed up to speak, are they all speaking on D under new business?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
They all are. All right, so we will, is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll move on. We'll put that behind us for a little bit. Report of the chairman. I have no report. Report of the county mayor.
No reports.
No old business, new business. Veteran service report is attached. Can I get a motion to approve 9B?
First Taylor, second Good.
First Taylor, second Good. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that was disposal of Sheriff's Department items. C, a resolution to urge the General Assembly to oppose HB 366. This comes from the Sumner County Highway Department.
So moved.
There's a motion from Commissioner Langford, a second from Commissioner Taylor. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I will skip over D for a few minutes, momentarily. Appointments of Judicial Magistrate of Sumner County. Oswaldo Herrera and Stephen Carter. Is there a motion?
So moved. Langford.
Second, Shell.
And there's a second. Thank you. All in favor say, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. F, Magistrate's Annual Review. Would you explain this to us, please, Ms. Denon?
Annually, we have to file with the commission a report on how many warrants papers, every kind of item that they do, and it's published in the paper, and people can come and ask questions if they have questions, and it's by statutory authorization has to be done in March.
Okay. Is there a motion? Second? Commissioner Langford, second by Mr.
I
Hinton.
had-
Oh,
he had the
I'm sorry.
motion.
Mr. Hinton had the motion, Mr. Langford had the second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to group and approve the certificates of recognition?
Second, Shell.
Good first, second Shell. Is there any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Zoning, do we need to vote on these or just as docketing?
No, well, it's all for docketing, but several of them, let's see, they're all. No, the top three are second reading, so these will go to the commission this month. The
Okay.
last one is just a first reading, but they do need an individual vote.
So we need to vote on each of these individually?
Please.
All right. Is there a motion on 11A?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Good, second by Langford. Is there any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And again, these are going to go, all we're doing is these are sending the general to the commission. 11B, is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved Taylor, second. Second Good. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 11C, is there a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, Mr.
Yes, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Taylor. Second?
Second.
Commissioner Langford. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And D,
This is just for the notification period to start. So
Yes,
this is
sir.
just the first reading.
this is the first reading. Commissioner Taylor's motion. And second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Langford. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Let's go back to a public recognition then. So Karen Bookert, would you, I'm sorry, what?
Book out.
Book out, okay, O-U-T, thank
I guess
you.
I'll stand.
No problem, thank you very much.
Do you need me to say anything?
We have a 5-minute time limit, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes, name and address, please.
Karen Bookout, B-O-O-K-O-U-T. Address is 1006 Quailwood Cove, Gallatin. I'm here tonight to address the TVA resolution, which I wrote with assistance from Jeremy Mansfield. We are not opposed, I feel I speak for the residents of Sumner County, Shiloh, Deshay Creek, Womack Estates, and all of those who would be impacted by the transmission lines. We're not opposed to Facebook. It's good, clean industry. However, the TVA has made several decisions that have impacted in a negative way the natural, cultural, and natural, cultural, and historical resources, specifically the Hartsville Power Plant, the Tellico Dam, and the Duck River Dam. The Hartsville Power Plant, as you know, and the Duck River Dam have been canceled many years ago. The dam, Duck River Dam, is in the process of being destroyed. However, the damage has been done. Sensitive habitats, by eminent domain properties, generational farmers lost their property, but the damage has been done. The farmers can't get their property back. The sensitive species can't get their habitats back. This is our concern for Sumner County as a whole, specifically the subdivisions mentioned in the resolution. Within, and I can only speak to certain areas, within specific areas, there are caves where bats are believed to thrive. TVA transmission lines, high voltage power lines, negatively impact bat populations. Bats are protected federally and state, specifically the tricolor bat, the gray bat, and the northern long-eared bat. In addition to that, we have several streams where we believe the streamside salamander is thriving. Again, I've contacted state experts, specifically Josh Campbell with Tennessee Natural Resource Agency and David Withers, who's a zoologist with the state. They're both coming out in the next week or two to confirm the presence of these sensitive species. Mr. Holt, I am asking you, we, as Sumner County residents,
Please speak to me as the chairman.
I apologize.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name, sir.
Mr. Ring.
Mr. Rick. We are asking you, as Sumner County residents, to move forward in a responsible, sustainable way, such that sensitive, historical, natural, and cultural resources are not destroyed any further. There are sensitive former Indian settlements in these areas. There are sensitive species throughout these areas. And the culture, the blessings that are rural life. This is why we chose, if we did not already reside here, this is why we chose Sumner County, for the blessings of rural life. If the county moves forward with planning that is done in such a way that it harms that and destroys our way of life, it will not be a county where tourists want to visit. Tourists will want to visit because it's beautiful, not because it's layered with apartments. Not because,
Excuse me, would you stick to the topic of the TVA?
Yes,
Thank you.
we are asking that you consider this resolution to protect Sumner County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bookout. Doug Hughes?
Hi, my name is Doug Hughes. I live at 1100 Wrights Lane here in Gallatin, and the power lines would actually cut right across my property, depending on the route selected. I'm a Nashville native, left for a long time, was living in Chicago with my wife. We had our son Jackson, who's now 5. As soon as he was born, we said, we gotta get to the best place in the world that we could raise this boy. And luckily, my wife agreed. She's from Ohio. We agreed that was here. Not because of the tax, not because of the great tax situation, not because of the friendliness of the people. You could find that in a lot of places. But it is really because of the beauty of the area and how sort of pristine so many of these environments out here are. And as a person who bought 16 acres of land to move from the city back home to raise my child on it, because of the nature, all the perennial streams, all the wildlife, all the springs, the 250-year-old barn we have, the stock pond drink, all this stuff. And it is really a challenging thing to digest that we could just sort of indiscriminately destroy that, because forget about the fact that it's somebody's home, but the natural environment that drew us here. People who had a choice where to go, I wanted to come here to raise my son. And it was for these very reasons that we wanted to do that here. And I do think that, as Karen was saying, this is a significant thing for us to consider, which is, what do we want this place to be? When we look around, do we want to preserve this natural environment or not? And I think this is a project that gives us the opportunity to consider that seriously. I will reiterate, I'm in favor, I'm a tech company CEO. Of course I'm in favor of a Facebook data center and all that, yeah. But I'm also in favor of doing that responsibly, because this is our community that we invested in, and we're the ones that are going to be here living in it, or not. I mean, the question does remain, do we live in this community if we don't preserve the things that make us want to live here? I think it's a valid question. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Before I call on the next person, I remind you, we are under mask mandate in Sumner County. If you came in late, please put on a mask. If you're in here, everyone in this building is required to be wearing a mask. Thank you. Mike Needle.
It's Needle, but I've been Needle
I'm sorry,
since kindergarten.
I knew that. I don't know why I said it that way.
We've been in a couple of meetings
Yeah.
together. Mike Nadell, I live at 201 Pond Drive, that's in the Shade Hills area. I'm in favor of the resolution. When I bought the property in '95, before I actually had the house built, I was given a set of restrictive covenants for Shade Hills. And so that's what I'm going to focus on, is just cover a couple of these, which is ties in directly, I think, with the resolution. And so I remember it had been 20 years since I had seen these again. You know, one, you had to have a 1,600 square foot house or bigger. You could not have mobile homes on the properties. You could not live in a motor home. One of the big ones was you cannot subdivide your acreage. So the lots that are that were designed through the plot, you cannot subdivide. And so you can't have farm animals other than the award-winning sheep that were there. They were grandfathered in or something like that. So we were good with that. But I just want to read the 21st covenant. It says, the purpose of these restrictions is to ensure the use of the property for attractive residential purposes only, to prevent nuisances, to prevent the impairment of the attractiveness of the property, to maintain the desired tone of the community, and thereby to secure each site owner the full benefit and enjoyment of his or her home and/or tract of land, with no greater restriction upon the free and undisturbed use of said home than is necessary to ensure the same advantage to the other landowners. When we were looking for property, we looked in Hendersonville, we looked all over Gallatin. This subdivision had everything that we wanted, so it was gonna remain as pristine for the residents in that area. So again, I am in support of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Needell. John Rasiopa?
Yeah.
Was that close?
Close enough.
Okay.
I've had that name for 51 years, so I'm good with it. So, just want you to know I am in favor of the resolution. I just wanted to kind of read a little bit of what's going on and what I'm thinking. As you said, my name is John Rasiopa, or Rashapa, if you want to call it correctly, and my family and I, we reside at 1039 Doubletree Lane, there in the Shiloh subdivision in Gallatin. We purchased our lot about 5 years ago, actually this week. And our desire and our dreams were to build a home of our dreams there. We never ever thought that we would ever be able to afford, much less live in the country as we thought we were many years ago. And when we built our home there was no Caballo Trail in our subdivision. It was fields, it was farmland, it was cows, it was deer, and beautiful sunrises. And we knew that eventually, over time, all that was going to give way to neighbors, and our views were going to change. But we also knew with the coming of neighbors was going to also be new relationships and new friendships as well, and new opportunities. We were told when we closed on our property, and I want you to be aware of that, when we closed on our property, we were told that there was a TV right-of-way that crossed our lot. But it had been discarded after many decades ago because the plans for a power plant in Hartsville was no longer on the board. And to be honest with you, it has never ever crossed my mind since that day, 5 years ago in August when we closed on our home. It never crossed my mind until January 20th of this year, when I received a letter from the TVA. I began to see on our neighborhood Facebook page that others, as well as I, had received that letter, and many of our neighbors had not. Some whose house was in direct line of this possible route did not even receive a letter. I was also surprised at the amount of time that we had to react to this letter and the information it was giving to us. When I decided to take the virtual tour via the info on the letter, I realized that these power lines, if they choose this route and this option and what they are proposing, would cross, based on their map, within 50 feet next to my home. I'll break that down a little bit further. That's about 16 yards. This wall to that wall is not 16 yards. It's less than that. And when you think about that, I also realized that there was neighbors behind me that was going to be going not through their side yard like it would be mine, but it would be through their front yard. This was shocking news to me, and my question for all this was why something so important and something that would have such an adverse effect on our lifestyles and our home values, why we were only given a month to respond. And all we could do was send an email to voice our concerns. This has been in the works, scratch that, not just for months, but for years, and we just found out about it a month ago. And as I've said, I've been here in my home for almost 5 years, and many of those homes that have been built in the neighborhood behind me have been within the last 2. And one was just sold and is currently being built now. And if they choose our route, that power line is going to go through their front yard. My question is, with this proposal being in the works over the last couple of years, is why weren't these placements of these lots and the selling of these homes and the cutting in of Caballo Trail considered, especially over the last 2 years when it comes to where these TVA proposed lines could go? Why was our developer even allowed to place homes this close to the right-of-way? As it stands right now, the TVA spokesman that I spoke to last week told me the reason why they're not even straddling the middle of the right-of-way, and they're pushing it over to the one side, which happens to be the side on my yard, is because they want to leave room to be able to use it for future lines. I am frustrated. If there was not any kind of updated analysis done and taken into consideration these new homes that have just been placed here within the last 2 years in order to use a right-of-way that was purchased and going on to be used through farmland and not through a neighborhood. The TVA's online virtual maps that we had to look at didn't even have most of the homes on the map because they were outdated. It just showed farmland. Obviously, there are environmental issues as well as health issues and questions that seem to go across the board. But I, as a homeowner, am greatly concerned about my home value. Please understand that if this line is placed across my property and the value of my home is severely affected, there will have to be a reassessment of my value as well as others in my neighborhood, which in the long run will cost the county lots of money in tax revenue.
Can you wrap it up, please? You're trying to find that. You're fine now.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Rochelle, appreciate it. John Miller.
I'm John Miller, 104 Pine Drive in Gallatin. And Facebook's goal is to have green energy. And I just wonder, is it green energy when you have to run football field wide paths through woods? 300 feet, 100 yards, length of a football field wide. If you destroy that ecosystem, is that green? So I looked up Jackson Solar Farm where the power's coming from. I figured that had to be 1 million acres. All right, the power, Facebook, 20. Facebook's got 809. 20 acres, and we can power Facebook and a whole bunch more stuff. Think about it. Why don't they got a $9 million budget for this project, 20 acres of solar panels, $10 million. Basically the same amount of money if they put the solar panels right on Facebook's property. No poles, no wires, no nothing. All right. Excuse me. So before we start cutting football field wide paths through woods, before we start destroying the beauty and the serenity of the rolling hills and the 1 in a million views, before we cause financial hardships to families and loss of home equity, before historical areas are lost forever, is that really worth the TVA exploring some other alternate solutions? And finally, the 359 acres, and I can't remember the gentleman's name who had the farm that decreased it to be used forever as a experimental agricultural farm. His 359 acres that trust that was broken will go back and be used as a farm again, solar farm. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Donovan T.
Thank you for taking the time to entertain all these ideas. I didn't think of that, and that's a wonderful idea. I just wanted to add one little thing to the mix that you're going to do what you have to do for the greater good. But just one little thing, additional little things that these other great people have said, is maybe just entertain the possibility of running some of these power lines, any or some or all of it, underground. I know that's a lot more expensive in the long run, though it will save property values and a lot of other things, but just as another small consideration on top of the things that these other people have said. And again, thank you for hearing us.
Thank you, Mr. T. Anybody else have something different to say or something additional to say? It's not on here, all right. Earl, public hearing is closed.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
There's a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any discussion? Second was Langford, second was Driver, motion was Langford. Is there any discussion on this, Mr. Langford?
I think that one thing, looking at the resolution, I think probably the overwhelming majority of us are going to be in favor of this, but I think that sending it to TVA's engineer is a good first step, but I think as Mr. Hinton found out with our emissions thing is like for any kind of thing that's going to affect TVA, it's going to require something bigger than the Sumner County Commission. I think we should also include in this directions that it go to Congressman Rose, that it go to our Senate delegation?
It's in there.
It's in there, okay. Okay, I think that we need to make sure, because I think that's where, if TVA is gonna get moved, I mean, you know, I'm all in favor of this, and I think it makes a lot of sense, but I think it's gonna require some type of federal action to get TVA. I mean, we're small potatoes to TVA. Or I'm sorry, my time's up, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to the chair.
Okay.
My bad.
Mr. Holt?
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to tell these folks, I understand you're passionate, and I don't have a problem signing a resolution county commission passes. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think it makes any difference to TVA at one bit. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. We have no knowledge of what TVA does. They don't listen to us. We have no input. They're basically a federal agency. And they're appointed, and they're not elected, and they do what they're gonna do. We'll pass the resolution, but I'm almost certain, not 100%, almost certain, they're gonna put a power line to Facebook. And there's gonna be some people who win, because it doesn't go in their backyard. There's gonna be some people who lose. And I do wanna address one thing, you know, I think there is a viewpoint that the county is just willy-nilly letting people build apartments all over the place. And I can tell you, and I want you to understand this, and I've got my planner here, and he'll confirm it. The county, I've been in office 31 years this year. In my time with the county, we have never approved, to my knowledge, one apartment complex in the county that we have any control of. Not one. Is that right, Josh?
Yes.
And I just want you to understand that we're just not out here willy-nilly approving apartments because we don't have the infrastructure nor the fire protection to actually service them. But what we did approve are subdivisions like you live in, because you live out in the county. And I think they're nice, and I think this is a great county. And it's gonna continue to grow, and we want your input when there's development. Because, trust me, the county's not developing property, the owners of agricultural property are developing property. They're selling it, they're getting too old to farm, their kids sell it, cash in. And when those are built, we want you to show up and say, hey, we can accept another 100 homes, but maybe we need to put a park, or maybe we need to do this, or need to do that. Because we're gonna grow. And I am so sorry that TVA is imposing upon you. We don't want that to happen. But the reality is they're gonna build this somewhere. And we just, you know, we're sorry, but we have absolutely no input in that.
Great, thank you.
We will pass this, and I will sign.
We need to vote before, we got people have to leave for other meetings. So let's go ahead and vote on this. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Move to adjourn? Second? Second. Okay. Now, if you've got a question, you can ask a question of somebody who's still here, but most of us have a meeting to go to.
I would seriously encourage everybody to contact Congressman Rhodes and Sumner because, and your two senators, yeah, because I'll put my name on it. I'll put on whatever we gotta do, but
So it's the right ways on the highway.
I think it's just on state grade.
Yeah, that's almost like that.
State grade.
Thank you all for being here.
I represent y'all.
I was on the train station going out there,
TVA board. Okay. Basically, we're reaching the top. And we know this power's gotta go somewhere, and it's gotta get there, which is how it's gonna be done. And I didn't even hear about that solar thing before, with that, amount of acreage, so there are other avenues. So anyway, thank you for, we will see if we can do that.
Gentlemen, in 39, I used to own that lot. I was, we sold it, we live in Bethlehem, they were out of there.
It's closed. Well, we closed, the TVA is told to us, and also that the easement actually was for the nuclear. Of course, TVA's got the right, because they got the easement.
I think there's always.
And I feel like, maybe I shouldn't, I feel like the county's involved some.
It'll pass the commission.
Planning these subdivisions and not letting, not making
We're
sure
happy
these
to do our
easements.
part.
We just trying to find one more guy who will.
Oh, actually,
The easement would have been,
and I'll say something.
the easement would have been withdrawn, the petition was withdrawn, the building started.
Keep the card corrected. Do you have a card?
No, I didn't.
Not on you?
I'll give you my number if you want it. It's on the website, county
Okay,
website.
on the website, yeah.
Go ahead and take my number.
Thank you.
And not only
And I don't mind, if y'all get something up, I'll sign it, I don't know what good it would do. I'm sure Mr. Henry.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, he said that's one,
And
that's a
there's
non-starter,
nothing
and then the
that
other
can be
route by the
changed by
airport is a
Right.
non-starter.
It's 615.
Yeah, I mean, I just
Crazy, though.
because it's one of those things where,
Oh,
see the worst thing, get bad publicity. Community service or something. And the most frustrating thing is when something like this, and it's like.
I'm gonna,
There's so.
my daughter has a house in Florida, I'm gonna change to go down there for a week.
Just like y'all are doing.
And the county commission meeting's gonna be in that week, and I believe I'll just weenie out and leave.
They call TDA.
I don't mind.
What it's gonna cost.
You know I ain't the vice chair. You know that?
One of our citizens.
You're the vice chair.
How?
You're not.
Everything, Anthony, Luke, is it Luke? It's on there, Luke Kingston. It's on there, I didn't know it either. I was out of town when y'all left the chair. And Anthony. But anyway, I can act like it.
Yes, that's right, go right ahead.
What do you want me to do?
This money for.
Oh, yeah, I'll speak.
You help us on that. And give them some history that you and I have talked about.
Yeah.
And somebody's gonna get out.
If you look at
I'm not,
that
I'm not good
road,
about it.
and the TDA that we saw, and I pointed it out.
Free
I said,
money, you know, like that all, you
this
know, it's
road
tax.
is
But
approved.
if you don't take
The
your
Bel
roads
Air.
and counties,
How did that
we don't get them.
That's right. Somebody.
They ain't gonna send it back to the treasurer
No.
to these taxes. It's gonna be spent.
You know, somebody had to.
If some of them city boys would move up there where we live, they'd realize these roads are terrible.
Yes.
And it got worse, of course, last week.
Yep. So,
Well, I think it's like.
Judy, I think you like Judy, and I get along with Judy.
Yeah.
But now Judy's got a little, she's got a little twist.
Well, here it is in perpetuity.
You gotta make it